KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. This show is called First Things First, and my very first thing today and every day is prayer. Yes, indeed, prayer. And we need a lot of it these days, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors, the elders. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to do, and it is Freedman Friday, so it's going to be on as per usual every Friday. For the past 2 years plus, we have celebrated reparations, centered reparations, and educated ourselves and each other about this very important topic, which continues to grow in momentum despite the sustaining grip of the British Empire on the Commonwealth, and despite the insanity that's happening in our nation's capital, people are not giving up. They're moving forward, and that is a great thing. So Freedman Friday, that's hour two. Today we'll be joined by Friday Jones. We're going to talk about what's happening in Evanston, something she's been tracking really closely as the Trump Justice Department has jumped in to try to put their thumb, hold behind on the scale against the reparations that are being actually paid out there in Evanston, the first municipality in the country to actually cut some checks. So, of course, they're attacking that. Now we'll see the status of that and get an update. And, of course, we take your phone calls all day long at 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. I'm laughing because I almost forgot the number. What? You say it like 3,000 times a day for the past 5 years. And then we'll be joined by the rapper Diamond. She's a rap artist. She's a mama. And she's a mover and shaker in hip-hop. It's kind of part of this ongoing rant that I have right now about making sure that people, originators, folks who blaze trails in hip-hop get their flowers, even if I have to give some flowers to myself. But not just that. I mean, women in particular, I've noticed over the years, and it seems to be more of a thing again. I don't know if that's a MAGA instinct, because there seems to be a MAGA movement against women as a group, or if it's not seems to be, there is, or if it's just the reflexes of our, the way we tell stories in the mainstream media in U.S. American history. But I'm determined to make sure the women get centered as well, and Diamond is one of those. She was there. I met her when I first came to L.A., and anyway, that'll be a really interesting convo if you want to talk about hip-hop, L.A. hip-hop. The birthday of hip-hop is coming up next week, which is the same day as the birthday of one Miles Lowe. And then, so... well, they say it's the birthday of hip-hop. I got questions. But that'll be a great conversation. Speaking of Miles Lowe, his show launches tomorrow, the first Do Better show on KBLA. And for those of you who are sleeping and just think Miles is here helping me and other shows on KBLA, that he's only the production czar of KBLA Talk 1580. No, Miles started out on the mic in Vegas, and so this is not a debut, but a return to form on this station. So that'll be Saturday at noon, right?
Tomorrow at noon, and also at 7 p.m. we're going to have a replay. So, yes, get your thinking caps on, get some pens, some pencils. Let's have a good time. I'm ready for this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's a wonderful asset to the station, and I'm glad that you are getting... I know you've been busy trying to keep us on the air and all that, but it's nice to get that other aspect of you, Miles, the air personality, which is where you started, not just as a rap artist, but also as a Vegas air personality.
CCC, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, maybe you'll bring some of the Las Vegas crowd to our app. If you don't have the app yet, it's free wherever you find your apps for your particular type of phone. And you can actually download the app and listen to us wherever you go on your phone. So we love it when you download it too, because it helps us stay in touch with you and give you the different things we be up to, sometimes contests, sometimes special events, and and many times actions. And so, if you haven't got it yet, please download it. If you have got it, please tell a friend to download the app. It's KBLA 1580, KBLA 1580, and that's where we are on every single platform. Um, Second half of this hour, we will be hearing from the mayor of Santa Monica and a city council member there in the city of Santa Monica because they have some reparations motion going on today, and we will hear about that. It's in regards to the Ebony Beach Club, which you probably have heard about, but so we'll get an update directly from the folks, Councilmember Barry Snell and Santa Monica Mayor Carolyn Torosis, on the reparations moment that they are having in that city today. So that'll be exciting. We'll have Freedman Friday 1.5, 1.5, bonus half hour. Right now it's me, you, and Miles in the microphone, telephone. We got a few things to cover. We always welcome you in. You're also welcome in to the YouTube conversation in the comments section. There's our delegation tends to be there, showing up in fellowship, commenting on the show, and commenting on other random things that have nothing to do with the show. I love y'all for that. That is amazing. And of course, you can do the landline thing at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. I've had some people asking me why I'm not commenting on some of these sort of scandal stories that are, really bubbling up, notably Roland Martin. And what I'll say is, number one, that's not really my brand. And I don't mean brand like, oh, I can't do that. But it's because I ain't Wendy Williams. You know what I'm saying? And nothing, no shade to her, but that's just not what I do. And yeah, I will talk smack. And yes, I can be silly. But I think all of us have had tough moments in our lives. None of us would want our love or sex lives blasted out to the world, I don't think. And so I don't want to be the one doing that per se. So, if you have if you're having an existential moment about it or some kind of a mental health crisis, hey, I'm here for you. I'm happy to talk about that. But digging into another man's or woman's private hidden photos on their phone or their private videos, it's not really my jam. But you call here, you bring up whatever you want, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Just like the whole reality TV thing is not really my jam. If you want to talk about it, I sometimes feel guilty because I don't watch the Real Housewives of anything. My reality TV sort of guilty pleasure, if you will, or I call it junk food for the mind, is like 90 Day Fiance or Married at First Sight, those Love is Blind, those kind of shows, because I find that it distracts me from Drumpf, and sometimes it's fun to just, eat some popcorn and watch say, ooh, at least I don't have that problem. But that's not my jam. But you are always welcome to introduce me to things that are important to you. And if it's that important to you, we'll find a guest who knows about it. You are always welcome to make a suggestion on the YouTube chat or by calling me at 800-920-1580, DMing me. I'm on all the platforms at Deprima Radio, but most frequently I check my DMs on Instagram, and of course at KBLA 1580 everywhere. Or you can even email me, deprimaradio@gmail.com, deprimaradio@gmail.com. Everybody's a Democratic Socialist now. Everybody want to be Mom Donnie. So how do you tell the posers from the people that actually have, I guess you could say, earned that title or actually even understand what the heck it is? Well, I got a thing or two to say about that. I'd love to talk to you about whatever's on your mind. As I stated, I'm Dominique DePrima, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions. This is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a social media manager.
Did you just post our Q4 earnings to your personal social media?
Oh yeah, used the trending audio and everything.
That's confidential financial data.
Relax. It only went a little viral.
The SEC just commented with the eyeball watching emoji.
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
And we are here on the chocolate side of Los Angeles to simply lift up black dignity, black honor. No spirit of hatred here. We here because we love our people. We love the people of this community. We love the people of every corner of this city. But some of us start on the chocolate side. And so all of the critiques, all of the calls for accountability have nothing to do with ad hominem attacks on any elected official. It has to do with either indifference or incompetence, maybe even corruption. We don't know, but we just want to make sure that everyday people in this community are treated with the dignity that they deserve. That's why we're here.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
I remember maybe it was about, let's say, 10 years ago that I started noticing, no, a little more than that, this phenomena of everyone calling themselves progressive, whether they were or not. And I call those folks progressive posers, people who use the title because it's popular, but in reality, it's just a label to them. And I feel like the same thing is happening now with democratic socialists. And even though the mainstream of the Democratic Party, as we talked about yesterday, is planning to spend at least $15 million to undermine the concept, they're like Trump. They're fighting Antifa, which is a concept, not an organization. Although DSA is an organization, and I suppose that's probably where they'll put a lot of their focus, but really they're talking about undermining the idea of it. And at the same time, there is movement. We are starting to see more of these candidates who either are part of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, or they have labeled themselves as such. Starting to see folks winning. We're beginning to watch this move into the mainstream, where it's no longer the old school Trump interpretation of, oh, these are communists, but understanding that there are different varieties of structures for government and governance that are not all either one extreme or the other, right? The full-on predatory capitalism or the full-on communism. Like there's many different iterations, and people are beginning to understand that. And so some folks, in an effort to distinguish themselves in elections or somehow set themselves apart from the very unpopular mainstream of the Democratic Party, the very unpopular corporate mainstream, what they're doing is they're labeling themselves as. So how do we know who really is and who really isn't? And what I'll say is this: you got to look at the policies. You got to look at if they're in office, how have they voted? If they're not in office, what have they advocated for? Because you've got two phenomena. On the one hand, some of these folks, they've won primaries and now they're trying to distance themselves from DSA because they think they need to do that to win in a primary. So they're moving to the right slightly. They're moving to slightly more conservative politics. And then on the other side, you have people who are challenging, people that are considered more mainstays of the Democratic Party. You see that happening here in the city of Los Angeles, where you have the incumbent mayor, Karen Bass, who was the leader of the State House here in California, first black woman to do so, not just in California, but in a state house, when she was the leader of the California State Assembly. And then she was a congresswoman in Washington, the national governance body, in a representative, right? She was in Congress for some years and then left that position to come here and run for mayor, when she said would be her last project. She's not trying to hop around to different jobs. She just wants to finish what she started in the city where she was born and raised, the city she loves. But maybe she could be considered more of a mainstream Democrat, even though compared to our prior measuring stick, she would have been called a progressive. Certainly she started out as a community organizer, right? Taking very strong positions with the Community Coalition, which she founded in South LA. Then you have the challenger, Councilwoman Nithya Raman, who came into office in the city council with the support of the DSA and was seen as an upstart progressive and had that label, which from my observation, she came by it honestly, because she came into the city council sort of as one of the first, really probably the first wave of this new progressive bloc that we have on the LA City Council. But if you look at her voting record, she voted with the mayor. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's above 90% of the time. So, and I keep saying this because the national news is labeling her a democratic socialist, and I think the fact that she's East Indian, and so they're kind of getting in this trendy thing like, oh, look, a Mamdani. No. To me, if it votes like a Democrat and it walks like a Democrat, then it's a Democrat. Now, if it votes like a socialist and it walks like a socialist, then it's a socialist. It's not just because they say that, but I've seen CNN and others labeling this race as a race between a corporate Dem and a democratic socialist, and I do not think that is an accurate description. I think what you have is two progressive, not wildly progressive, but two progressive women of color who have been allies. In fact, Raman endorsed Mayor Karen Bass about a month before she decided to jump into the race herself. And then they've voted very much in lockstep. So what you have is two women who are Democrats running against each other. That's what you have. one who has, created her base partly in Hollywood because her husband works in Hollywood, partly within certain members of the progressive DSA crowd because of her roots, where she started. But where she landed and what she did in office is basically the same. And then you have another woman of color, a black woman, who's been leading this city through some troubled times for the past 4 years, who has experience on the state level and the federal level, and as a community organizer, and they've got similar records. So I think it's really a good example of how we have to parse these labels, particularly the Democratic Socialist label right now, because right now it's trendy and everybody's trying to do it. And I think the other reason they're doing that is because it appeals to younger voters, right? But as some in Democratic circles or progressive circles have started to question, at least in the black community, is there a calculus happening right now with some of these candidates that they can win without black people and they don't really have to serve black people? And if you look at DSA itself as an organization, there are very, very, very few black folks there. Well, doesn't mean we can't join, go ahead. I encourage us to join, infiltrate, influence, wherever we can, especially in progressive circles. But if you look at DSA, they don't have a black agenda for sure. They have very few black members. So as a woman who considers myself to be a Democratic Socialist but is not a member of DSA, I think that's something that black progressives have to really, really take a look at. Because if you're jumping over here like, oh, I'm going to vote for Mom Donnie or I'm going to vote for Nithya Raman without really analyzing their record, are they truly more progressive than the next person? And what have they done, or what do you feel confident they will do based on their track record for your community? You say, oh, that's identity politics. All politics is identity politics. It's just that when we say it, they call it the race card. When people that aren't black do it, they call it Tuesday. So we also have to not fall for the okey doke with that. That's a favorite conservative talking point. Oh, it's identity politics. But even some on the left kind of get sucked into this. But when y'all coalesce around things that preserve your privilege, or when y'all coalesce around things that preserve your identity, that's considered the default. So therefore, it's not identity politics. I call BS. All of us have a responsibility. In fact, I think we're wired by nature to look out for our own families, our own block, our own community. That's just humans. That's why we had, little tribal skirmishes in ancient Europe, ancient Africa, ancient Asia, ancient everywhere, because we are hardwired to make sure our family eats, that our block thrives, that our town rises. That's how we're wired. We're people. That's good. And so in walking through this moment of hopefully redefining the Democratic Party as something less sort of mainstream pablum and into something that can actually deliver results for communities, for working class and poor people, right? And the middle class. But for some reason, no politician, hardly any politician is willing to say working class or poor, low resource. And maybe some consultant told them not to. But we have to look at who's going to deliver for those folks based on their track record, not just based on what comes out their mouth. And so, and in this moment, we also have to look at, do they appear to be functioning on a strategy that says, I don't need black people. I don't have to serve black people. I don't have to talk to black people. I can skip over this part and just go right to my win and pretend y'all don't exist. If we are not the flavor of the month, that's okay, but we must persist in our consciousness, discernment, and activism and make them, whatever their designated label, poser or real, make them deliver for our family, our block, and our community. News, traffic, and sports, and then we got a little reparations coming from the west side. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. The Department of Justice is considering a move to charge Dr. Anthony Fauci with a crime. A vote by the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee came after he invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times. Senator Marsha Blackburn is the winner in the GOP primary race for Tennessee governor. She defeated Congressman John Rose and State Representative Monty Fritz. Meanwhile, not a good day for U.S. Representative Andy Ogles. He lost his Republican primary in Tennessee to former state official Charlie Hatcher. The Trump administration wants to cut regulations on the federal Head Start program that serves low-income children. Federal officials want to reduce regulations governing the program, including a proposed change that could eliminate the class size limits. The proposals would go through a federal review process and could take effect as early as 2027. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Here's the latest on former Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald considering coming out of retirement. The 35-year-old Donald, who retired in 2024, did a private workout this week for Rams defensive line coach Jeff Smith and 2 members of the team's strength and conditioning staff. The Rams needed to find out if Donald was able to meet certain physical requirements specified in the NFL's collective bargaining agreement with the Players Union. Rams coach Sean McVay said Donald easily met those requirements, but is leaving the decision up to Donald. McVay added that the 10-time Pro Bowler does not have a deadline to say he wants to rejoin the team or stay retired. The Dodgers are back in action tonight to start a 3-game series in Arizona. The Dodgers bring a 6-game losing streak to the key series. Arizona is 8.5 games behind the Dodgers in the NL West and is hoping to make up some ground this weekend. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. August 5, 2026. Dear LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson, on behalf of a coalition of businesses and residents that constitute the Crenshaw Corridor community, we write to request that a concrete timeline and resources for fully completing Destination Crenshaw within a year be developed and announced. A year is the outside time it should take, and we hope and expect that it can be finished considerably sooner. We also request the immediate establishment of a business interruption relief fund for the merchants, entrepreneurs, churches, and property owners who have borne the disproportionate economic burden of the prolonged delays associated with the Destination Crenshaw project, and a resident relief fund for the residents of the corridor who have been most adversely affected by the prolonged construction and delays associated with this unfinished development. Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer access, declining revenues, disruptions, and mounting financial hardship. A broad spectrum of the community expressed their frustration over these delays and the impact they have had on the community at a standing room only July 30th town hall at Bethesda Temple Church, widely covered by the media, including ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The burden of these unexplained delays should not rest on the shoulders of the Crenshaw Corridor community, which acted in good faith and supported this historic project. If the city fails to provide a complete and substantive response to this correspondence within 30 days of the date of this letter, the Crenshaw Corridor community reserves its right to pursue all of its rights and remedies. Sincerely, the Crenshaw Corridor community. To read the complete letter detailing all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
You are, and I'm so glad that you're here. We are starting Freedman Friday early this morning, which is amazing, and I'm quite happy about it. Welcoming in some folks from the west side, from Santa Monica, who are doing a special move that you definitely want to know about. We have joining us a lifelong community advocate, public servant. She was elected to the city council in 2022 in Santa Monica, and had been on a commissioner on the rent board since 2016. She's a UCLA alum. Santa Monica Mayor Carolyn Torosis, welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for checking in with us on this fine Friday. We're also being joined by a certified public accountant and business leader. He's got long-term ties to the Santa Monica community. He started at the Santa Monica Community College Board. Now he is a city councilman. Barry Snell, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You know, most of us have either vaguely or very closely tracked the story of the Ebony Beach Club and the conversation in Santa Monica around, reparations, restitution, and the long history of, not just in Santa Monica, but all along the coast, the fraught relationship between beach access, recreation access, and black people and racism. So tell me, if you would, just a little your version of the story of the Beach Club.
Sure, I can kick us off, and then Barry, if you want to jump in. But basically, Santa Monica, we are very clear on the city council that Santa Monica has a racist history. I'm going to say it how it is. In 1957, Silas White, who was a black entrepreneur in Santa Monica, had this dream to create a beach club for the recreation of the black community. And unfortunately, the city of Santa Monica actually took that land by eminent domain shortly after Silas White signed his lease. And then the city filed a condemnation action against that property. And so Silas White's dream was lost. He passed away, but the fight continues, and his daughter actually approached our city and let us know about this history, and we started looking into it. We did a very, very long fact-finding period, and we found that, in fact, the city did do the actions that we were accused of, and that was really the starting point for a reckoning process for us on the city council to say, look, what can we do in government now to repair the past harms that this city has perpetuated against its black residents?
Yeah, and you want to pick up, excuse me, Councilmember, where the mayor left off there?
Sure. I mean, he described his intent to be one of the best establishments for America and for his people. As a matter of fact, the club drew a lot of excitement. During that period of time, it was going to open up with Nat King Cole, and it was prepared to open up in October of '58 before the city took away that right. And from that, Mr. White was not able to establish his dream to have a beach club and to have a place where black people could sit and enjoy the beach, enjoy the music, and to congregate during a segregated period.
And this is, as I referenced, this was actually incredibly common at that time, all up and down the coast. But in the case of Silas White, he had invested in this club, and he had a lease, and he had started the process of getting people to sign up as members, but he didn't actually own the building. Was that a factor for you guys in the way that you dealt with this particular case?
Yeah, and so I think that this is a little bit different than what people have experienced with Bruce's Beach, if everyone's familiar with that. This is really a case of like lost economic opportunity, because yes, Mr. White did not physically own the property, but let's be very clear, it was very difficult for the Black community to get a traditional mortgage with a bank, and so he had a rent-to-own arrangement with a white landowner. And so we had to really look at this and say, what kind of compensation can we offer Mr. White, given that he didn't have like a property interest, but that there was absolutely this economic impact. And so that's why not only are we looking at this one incident, we are actually establishing a restorative justice fund with this as the jumping off point for what the city did for many, many Black families in both the Belmar Triangle and with the Ebony Beach Club and with the 10 Freeway and the Pico neighborhood. We have a very, extractive history. And Councilmember Snell, I don't know if you want to jump in. Sorry that I...
No, it was just, we felt on council that this was an inflection point. We realized addressing these past harms was something that we had to do. Obviously Santa Monica is not the only city that had these kind of issues. So we felt that when Mr. White's daughter came to us and discussed it, that we had to do something to rectify it. And that's why we came up with these key Ebony Beach terms, as Mayor Torosis said. It wasn't. It was a lease. It wasn't ownership of a land at this point, but we still felt that there was some injustices that we had to correct.
No doubt. And this is a situation a lot of people don't realize. I didn't realize. I actually lived in Santa Monica for a heartbeat, that there was such a long history of Black community there. Of course, people know about the Inkwell, but just these communities that you mentioned, Mayor Torosis, that these were actually outposts. These were actually thriving Black communities that some remnants of them still exist today, correct?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, so like I mentioned, we have this neighborhood called the Belmar Triangle. I would invite folks to visit it. The city has actually established a permanent art monument commemorating what we did, but I would contend that that's not good enough. The city actually took the land that Black families lived on in the Belmar Triangle and established a civic center. And so we are now looking at establishing a $5.5 million restorative justice fund so that people can come forward, similar to the White family, through a claims process, which our Restorative Justice Commission is going to establish. We've just seated them this month. And we're going to try to figure out how do we actually repair people. Of course, there's never going to be enough money to correct all of the injustices, but we want to start a process and prioritize folks whose land was taken from them in this Belmar Triangle neighborhood and also all along the Pico corridor.
Is it similar, Mayor Torosis, to what we saw in Palm Springs? Because some of those folks were renters, or they owned the building but not the land, or
yes.
and so they were pushed out of that city. Councilmember Snell?
Yes. Yes, it is similar. Obviously, part of the settlement points we were giving $350,000 payment to Councilman White in recognition of the advocacy directed by us. As Mayor Torosis has stated, we're establishing a retroactive process and a committee to be able to establish funding for those kind of injustices with our folks in our city. And then as part of the settlement, and this is why we're here today, we're going to rename the street Silas White Street on Monday, and also proclaim on October 12th a Silas White Day in Santa Monica.
So the naming of the street, that's happening Monday, and I'm assuming it's open to the public, that anyone can come.
Yes, it is.
What time is that happening?
5 p.m.
Okay, that's a beautiful thing. And just for people that haven't been following this story, Constance White is the daughter of Silas White, and she is the one that will be receiving that $350,000 settlement, or I don't know if it's a settlement, it's a repair. It's a
repair.
Yeah. And that,
I mean, again, there will never be enough repair, but I think that this shows a new model because it's not just about a land back movement. It's really about a lost economic opportunity movement. And so we want to show the rest of the country, the rest of the state, what is possible, especially with this very hostile federal administration, that it is possible that local jurisdictions can actually step up and start to make right on some of the very discriminatory and racist actions that they took previously. Although, our council didn't do it, we owe it as a city to our constituents.
Yeah, well, two interesting things there to unpack. One is you said our council didn't do it, and so many times we hear the argument, well, I didn't, I wasn't the one who did this harm. I didn't own any slaves. I wasn't part of Jim Crow. But I find it interesting that you say we still have the responsibility to right the wrong.
Correctly.
Absolutely.
Obviously, these harms of the past sends a message to our community, but hopefully to the entire country. The human story of Silas White and what we're doing on Monday with the ceremony is a meaning for our community to reinforce the notion of pride in the Black community and carries with it a message that the Black community truly belongs in Santa Monica. So this is exactly what we're hopefully addressing, and hopefully the country will understand that Santa Monica understands the past injustices, and we're going to correct them every time we see them.
And the other thing that I sort of teased out of what you said, Mayor Torosis, is that the repair, the restitution in the case of Constance White is partly based on this idea that, if a city or a county or a state grabs something through eminent domain, one of the ways we can identify, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is racially motivated is when they don't do anything with it, or they don't do what they said they were going to do with it after they take it.
Exactly.
Correct. Absolutely.
They took this away to. They took this away to build a parking lot. My understanding was, and obviously that didn't happen. And presently, there's a hotel on the street where the beach club, Ebony Beach Club, was going to be residing. So that action showed us that this is something that we needed to repair.
Yeah, Mayor Torosis, you wanted to weigh in on that. I mean, it reminds me of the Bruce's Beach situation in that way only, in that they didn't do what they said they were going to do with the land.
Absolutely. And in my day job, I work for the county. I'm very familiar with Bruce's Beach, and that case was a little bit different because, again, the Bruce family actually owned the property. And so this case, because we are later in history, right, the late 50s, we have to look at these historical patterns of what happened with land ownership and eminent domain. And again, a lot of folks did not actually physically own the property that was taken, but that doesn't mean that they didn't suffer harm. It's very clear that the land was not condemned if the city was taking it and then doing nothing with it, i.e. a parking lot. And now it's deeply troubling that we have built our entire civic center on land that was taken from our Black community. So we are currently undertaking a very extensive process, not just for this one situation, but for what we do globally going forward, and not just about financial repair, but then also what can we do through our programs, through our services, through opportunity for access to capital, job creation, entrepreneurship for our communities who have been overlooked by government.
We're talking with Barry Snell. He's a council member for the city of Santa Monica, and Mayor Carolyn Torosis, also of Santa Monica. They have their reparations update. They have a street naming on Monday, which you are invited to. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Classes in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're talking with Carolyn Torosis, who's the mayor of the city of Santa Monica, and Barry Snell, council member for the city of Santa Monica. 5 p.m. Monday, where the Ebony Beach Club would have been. There is a street being named in honor of Silas White, who was the man who tried to build a black recreation space there and had that opportunity taken away from him. Now, as you mentioned, there is an ongoing effort. This is part of it. I think you've got the installation at Belmar Triangle, which is like an historical marker that folks can go see. I believe Dr. Allison Rose Jefferson worked on that.
Yep, that is correct. And also, one of the things, by the way, I want to stand corrected. The event will start at 4:30. Not 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's on 1846 Main Street. But to elaborate on what you discussed, the framework by establishing this $5.5 million Restorative Justice Fund will create a stepping stone for us to be able to look at citywide programs that are affected by exactly what happened years ago. And we're hoping that with this council-appointed Restorative Justice Commission, we will be able to look at those things. So this money was established not from our general fund, but it was established from a negotiation that we had with the RAND Corporation, and this is where the seed money began to happen. So we're really excited about why we're doing this, and we're hoping that this is just the beginning of establishing a message to our community that these harms are harms that we have to correct going forward.
Yeah, and I congratulate you, Councilmember Barry Snell and Mayor Carolyn Torosis for making this happen, especially in this environment, as you said. Some of us who follow reparations really closely were concerned when we heard the City of Santa Monica Reparations Commission was changing to a Restorative Justice Commission, because typically that means we're not centering black harm, and we're sort of making this, we're all lives mattering, the fund and or the effort. What would you say, Mayor Torosis, to people who have that concern?
Yeah, and I understand that, but what I would say is that previously we actually only had a task force. And so the task force was time-bound. I don't know that their objective was as clear as it could have been. And so we really wanted to create a full-fledged commission. And then we are tasking that commission with coming back to us with the framework for the $5.5 million, including experts in the field. And the reason I think restorative justice makes sense is because, like I mentioned previously, it's not just about financial repair. Of course, it's very much about that. We do want to repair past harms with restitution and financial payments, but we are also looking at what programs can we put forward in the community, for people that were displaced, and for people that are here that have been overlooked and kind of underserved by government. And so that includes, like I mentioned, seeding funding for potentially future entrepreneurship opportunities, access to capital, home ownership, workforce development, et cetera. And so looking at what do we do on a going forward basis, I think restorative justice really encapsulates all of that.
And if I could add to,
yes, please.
And if I can add to that, this is I think a big portion of it also. It's establishing standards, but it's also establishing oversight, so that once myself and Mayor Torosis is off council, we have a commission that takes a look at the framework and establish an oversight to be able to continue this kind of work going forward.
Right, and I did read that anyone, including the daughter of Silas White, could, if they have specific grounds, could return to this commission and apply for funding or apply to be considered for restitution or reparation.
That's correct. That is correct.
So, and we want to prioritize. We're trying to prioritize those who are with a limited amount of money, obviously. And
yes.
We're hoping that for example, my dream would be if there are revenue generating opportunities on the land, that we put a portion of that money to an evergreen reparations fund, right? So we're constantly generating revenue and paying back folks who have been harmed. But I think, really a big part of it is a claims process, and we want to prioritize people who are over 90 in the very first tranche.
Good idea.
We want to try to prioritize the people who might have actually suffered the harm directly first. But yeah, all of that is still being worked out, if I'm being candid.
Right. So if folks are from Santa Monica or their families are from Santa Monica and they may have directly suffered that harm, where should they look? How should they track the work of this Restorative Justice Commission, so maybe they might be able to apply at some point for relief?
Right. So I would say follow us on our city website and on our channels. We will make sure that we fully announce all of the processes. Right now, again, the commission just got seated, so you can check out their work on our website and also follow along with their meetings. But as they start to convene, people can come and weigh in. Members of the public can weigh in. We would love to hear from experts about how to set this up. I think all of the help that we can get on what is the most equitable way to do this is helpful. And then we will make sure that we come back to you with a full announcement of how people can apply once that's ready.
Amazing. SantaMonica.gov is that website, SantaMonica.gov. Meanwhile, you're invited. We are all invited on Monday. Councilmember Snell, you want to reiterate how we can be part of this?
Yeah, let me once again, it's on Monday. It's at 4:30, and it's on Main Street. The exact address is 1846 Main Street, right next to the Viceroy Hotel. It's free to the public, and I'm hoping that that families from Santa Monica and surrounding area, Los Angeles area, will all come and visit it and be part of this extraordinary event. It really is makes all of us on council feel really good about the direction that we as a city have laid out for the White family and those individuals that have been harmed from this period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing, especially as we see, Confederate statues going back up and strange goings on with the removal of history in our national parks and whatnot. It seems like you have, to some degree, foolproof this project by, as you mentioned, the funding coming through the RAND Corporation. So we will look forward to this Monday, 4:30 p.m., 1846 Main Street in the city of Santa Monica. Mayor Carolyn Torosis, Councilmember Barry Snell, thank you so much for joining this morning.
Thank you for allowing us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Freedman Friday is next. The reparations conversation continues, focusing on Evanston and the attacks they are enduring. Reparationist Friday Jones joins me. All that straight ahead, only right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. The Department of Justice is considering a move to charge Dr. Anthony Fauci with a crime. A vote by the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee came after he invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times. Senator Marsha Blackburn is the winner in the GOP primary race for Tennessee governor. She